This Monday, me and Brian Clark did a live stream on Twitch where we worked on the integration between Visual Studio Code and Twitch. Brian is a maintainer of this integration between Twitch and Visual Studio Code, where viewers of a Twitch live stream can highlight code in the chat, mark lines of code in the chat, and that pops up in the live stream in my Visual Studio Code editor. It's really cool. Our goal was to make a pull request, make a good change to this extension in 1 hour. We did not succeed at that, but that is okay. That's why the show is called Failing Together. We don't always succeed, but we always have fun, and most importantly, we always learn. If you want to make sure that you don't miss the next live stream, just go to twitch.tv/funfunfunction and hit that follow button, and you'll get a notification the next time we go live. Before we jump to the recording of this Monday's live stream, I would like to talk a little bit about Patreon. I don't talk about Patreon in every video because I don't want to nag about it too much, but the fact of the matter is that this production is mostly funded by Patreons. There's a bit of a sponsor here and there and some ad dollars from YouTube, but in the end, it's you, the patrons, that makes it possible for me and David to do this as our jobs and produce this content on a regular basis. And I am so grateful for that. You are fantastic. I really want to say that. And if you feel like you are a developer that find this content useful and want to see more of this content into the world, please consider going to patreon.com/funfunfunction and chip in a few dollars a month, because that really makes a difference for us. Thank you so much. All right, on to the recording of this Monday's live stream. Good Monday morning, everyone, or whatever time it is for you. It's morning in the California side and such. Here in Sweden, it's just afternoon, really. And over at you, Brian, where is it?
It is about 10:13 a.m. here in Orlando, Florida.
Brilliant. So I usually start by telling the audience what we are going to do today.
Okay.
What is our plan? Do we have a plan?
Yes, we do. Of course we have a plan. We will not be unprepared. How dare we? So the plan is we have this Visual Studio Code extension that integrates with the Twitch chat to allow people, well, let me explain the scenario, I guess, first, right? A lot of times when it comes to live streaming programming on here, or in any platform really, you'll have a situation where you run into bugs in your code, right? It happens to all of us, the best of us. And while you're doing it, the benefit, I think, one of the benefits of doing it live on stream is that you have pair programmers, or I think you actually reminded me in the event description, it's called mob programming, where it's more than one-to-one kind of thing. And I forgot about that. So yeah, it's mob programming. And the mob can help you point out issues that they found in the code, or where the bug is that you're sitting there banging your head against the wall trying to figure out. And in my experience, there would end up being this back and forth that takes a lot of time, where because just chat, like text chat, is not necessarily the best medium to convey where they see the issue a lot of times.
Yeah, for sure.
So the idea came where, hey, let's have a command in chat that people could send to say, hey, go highlight this line of code in this file, so that it draws my attention as the streamer, the host of the stream, to that area. And then it'd be like, oh, okay, I forgot a semicolon or something silly like that, right? So that's the idea behind this extension. However, it's still early on in the stages of development. And one of the things that we need to be careful of is people abusing that, right? Or people that are just not necessarily behaving properly in chat. And so in that case, sometimes you might need to ban somebody, and when you do that, right now the extension does not listen for anything around that, and therefore their highlights and potential stuff that impacts your stream might still linger around. So what I'd like to do today, if you're open to joining me on that, is maybe we listen to that ban event that happens in Twitch, and then remove any highlights that user account might have created in your VS Code.
Perfect. What is that blinky thing?
I can turn that off. I'm sorry. It's the.
Oh no, it's great. I just want to know what it is.
So I have a lot of what I do on stream is about chat integration, or and interacting with people, the viewers of the stream. And so my first project, which is still a living project and kind of going on, it interacts with the light that I have here. It's an internet connected light bulb, LIFX, LIFX.
Oh.
And, so the chat can actually change the color of it if they go into my chat channel and use a bulb command, or if certain events happen, like somebody follows me, which is what that blinking was, or do other things like subscribe or cheer bits, then it will flash different colors as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. I like the background here is something that I will be like doing a lot of work with during the coming months, and doing some like figuring out some cool things to put there. And there's definitely gonna be some lampy thing, and perhaps like a mechanical thing that can go and flip itself or something with when chat interacts. That'd be really cool.
That sounds awesome. That reminds me, I forget the name of the other streamer, but there was somebody that had like a talking banana, mechanical banana, that would like read the text from the chat and just do a little thing like that. It was
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. So.
All right. So tell me who you are, or tell like I know who you are, but tell the audience who you are.
I'm just an average individual that likes to program, and
as we all.
Yes. But I do a lot of web-based development with JavaScript and TypeScript recently I've been kind of getting into, and Node.js. But my background was originally in C# and .NET and ASP.NET, and then migrated over into the web world with like jQuery, vanilla JavaScript, jQuery, and then all the fun frameworks, front-end frameworks that are there, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a normal journey. I was originally a C# developer as well, and I spent a lot of years there and then moved into JavaScript.
Yeah. I think I might turn off because it's going a little nuts right now. The light bulb.
What is triggering it exactly?
I'm seeing that it's saying a bunch of some people are following.
Okay.
My channel, so I'll turn it off. Yeah.
Okay, so cool. Let's then check out the project, because this is another project that I was working on.
Sure. Do you need me to send the link, or do you have it ready to roll?
Let's actually go to the repo.
Okay, I'm going to post the link in chat a couple times for people to see.
GitHub. And what is the?
It's github.com/Clarkio.
github.com/Clarkio.
And then it's the name of it. The repo name is VS Code -Twitch-highlighter. Should be that top left one there.
There we go. Okay, I'll clone this one. I'm gonna increase the font size here a little bit. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, and we'll clone that.
Here we go. So while MPJ is doing that, if you all wanted to like unhighlight a line of code, you can just put an exclamation point in front of the line number, and that will remove it.
This is really cool.
So apparently everybody thinks the entire file needs to be highlighted. It needs your attention.
That's awesome. Like that's it's like priority in like I had this. I'm reading this book, Essentialism, that talks about how like basically reducing your life or your organization to like very strict priorities, and how the word priority, like many years ago, it used to mean one thing, but over the years, like it has just devolved into this like priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, priority 4, and like then nothing is a priority.
Right.
Okay, so I'm just gonna open this in code.
You'll need to npm install as well when you get a chance.
Cool.
And then while you're doing that, I see some questions in chat. Deville Link, Icefire says, is the highlight stay active forever? So there's some options around that. Basically, if the user decides to disconnect the extension from the Twitch chat, it will prompt them to say, hey, do you want to remove all the highlights or do you want to leave them still? There's also an option where there's a little tree view that shows up in the Explorer. So in MPJ's screen there at the very bottom left, you can see there's a highlights panel that is expandable and collapsible. And that will show all the highlights, a list of the highlights as well.
It has a bunch of recommendations here. Beautify, JSHint, ESLint, TSLint, debug. Alright, I'm gonna ignore those.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that was VS Code saying, hey, based on this project, these are extensions you might want to use, but it's okay.
Alright, so yeah, let's do the create integrated terminal and do an npm install.
Deathpack says when everything is a priority, nothing is a priority.
Yeah, precisely. Classic.
Fyfin asks, can I change highlight color? Yes, you can. So the default is that bright green and white border, but there's settings that are available through the extension that will let you change it to whatever you want. Like I use blue for mine. Nalaj says, can you time out users? So that's what we're planning on doing today is basically, well, we're going to focus on users that might get banned, but maybe we should do it that way, actually, MPJ, is listen for when somebody gets timed out.
Yeah, sure.
Because there's 2 events that are available that come from the Twitch chat. And in particular, we're using, under wraps, we're using a module. We were using, actually, I forget now. Let me double check here, the package JSON. So there's 2 big JavaScript npm packages that help with simplifying connecting to the Twitch API and all the things that go along with that. One is tmi.js, which I highly recommend, and there's another one called twitch-js. I had originally went with twitch-js because as we were discussing earlier, I was experimenting more with TypeScript, and there were type definitions already available for twitch-js, and that's why I went with that one. It's essentially another, I don't know the whole backstory, but I think something happened with TMI.js where it was like kind of stagnant for a while and it wasn't really being updated, and so somebody kind of forked off of that and created a Twitch.js one, which was a little bit more frequently more active, right? And so I believe that's why it happened. They're essentially the same thing. You can swap them in and out pretty easily, which is what I've experienced. I think it was my bot light bulb project that we were talking about earlier that I switched over to TMI.js. In any case, yeah, this one's still using Twitch.js.
Makes a lot of sense.
But there should be an event nonetheless when a user gets banned or when a user is timed out. It should raise an event that we can listen to that will allow us to kind of take action upon that within the extension moving forward.
Right. So walk us through the project a little bit. You know what?
Sure. So
while we're at it, should we do a little bit of a scary thing that I haven't tried before?
Sure. What should we do?
Start a collaboration session. And then share that with the chat.
So you're gonna hold on a second. You're gonna let everybody in the chat potentially join us.
Yeah, but like making it read only.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Like we can just go like disable it if this turns out horribly. But that way they can like jump into the.
Sure.
All right, I'm pasting it in the chat. This is it might be a disastrous experiment where I get super hacked. But like if you don't there is a Swedish saying halvt vågat hälften vunnet, half dared half won. So like let's see if people join if it works.
I'm gonna try.
Oh yeah, like, because you need to. It really helps if you have it too.
Yeah, just a little bit if we're gonna pair program, right?
Yeah, sure.
All right, I'm copying it over into my instance of VS Code. And it's loading up.
Yeah.
And I'm downloading the project. Well, your instance of the project. Joining collaboration session.
All right, so I see that Krumi requested to join the collaboration session. Oh yeah, so I have to, okay. Read only requested to always accept anonymous. All right, scary. There we go.
All right. I see your terminal too, by the way.
Yep. That's fine.
I do not see the code just yet.
All right, I guess it downloads the project then.
Yeah. So we'll give that a second and then I can join up with you there.
Cool. Yeah, I really need to have a better, like my window positioning needs to improve on this template. I thought I was being smart, but a lot of stuff is happening in the lower right corner.
Okay.
But stream improvements, learnings.
Let me see if I refresh the workspace. Oh, there we go. All right, I see it now. So I guess you wanted me to step through the project a little bit?
Yeah.
To explain what's going on?
Sure.
So when it comes to like extensions in general, what with VS Code, they kind of extend, for lack of a better term, package JSON to become the manifest of the extension.
Yeah.
They're also, let me take a step back actually. They're written in TypeScript or JavaScript. You have the option to start either way with that. And then the package JSON becomes essentially like if you've built a browser extension before, they have a manifest.json that describes how like the different things that this extension is intending to do and add features to the browser.
Yeah.
Very similar to that, package JSON is acting in that way for VS Code extension. So if you open that up, and it's going to be a lot, like this is a pretty involved, more complex extension, but you can keep it kind of simple too. But if you open up package JSON, and you step through that a little bit, you'll see those that are familiar with making web-based projects using a package JSON, you'll see the typical conventional keys in there that describe like the name of the project, maybe the repository, what version of the project it is, and so forth. But they add to it things like categories, activation events. Like categories is on line 12. On line 15, we have activation events. And then 24 is where it gets interesting, where it's talking about what it's going to contribute to VS Code for the end user. So in this case, we're contributing a bunch of commands, and then if I collapse that,
let's see. So I can't see what you are doing.
Right. So if you want to like follow along with what I'm saying, maybe. So down on.
Oh, hang on. Okay. Oh, now I follow you. Okay.
Oh, you can follow me. Oh, there. Yeah, that's right. I forgot Live Share lets you do that. Dope.
Yeah, I noticed like people are pointing out that they're getting an error joining collaboration, could not join the collaborations as it already reached the maximum of 5 participants.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I thought it would be, maybe that's something that you can limit on your end or not, but I thought the max participants was 30.
Yeah, exactly. 5 surprised me. I thought it would be more for some reason.
I'm looking at Live Share settings to see if there's something in there. Share external files, start on call share. Oh, guest limit, yes. Oh, there's a checkbox that says increases the guest limit from 5 to 30. So I have that. I think it's unchecked by default.
All right, so where do I find that?
So if you press Control or Command comma to bring up settings.
Yeah. Yes.
And then I just searched for live share, and then you put guest limit.
Which settings is it? Workspace settings? No, open settings. Yeah.
Open. Do you have the keyboard like shortcut Control?
But we won't have the same shortcuts.
Oh no, it's usually command line. I don't know how to do it from the command line. I always use that shortcut. Hold on.
So settings. Open user settings, live share.
Guest limit.
I just search for guest limit.
Or just guests, maybe. I saw it. Now it's gone. Where'd it
go?
go?
Increases it. I found it.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. All right. Let's see. Like, try to connect to that link. It's in the chat. Either way,
Okay.
I think I'm still following you. There.
So are you with me?
I am with
Okay,
you.
so you see me clicking. Okay. So on line 24 here, we have contributes, and it's saying that it's contributing commands, but I can collapse that. It also contributes menus, view containers, views, like there's a bunch of other things, and configuration. So that's like the settings that we were talking about, just like how we changed the setting for VS Live Share.
Yeah.
That's where we would do that kind of stuff. So it's expanding upon this. This is the manifest that tells VS Code like what this extension is intending to do. Excuse me. So yeah, that's kind of describing what's going on with the extension, and then where the source code is, the main entry file is the extension.ts file. Now this is where things can kind of get like out of hand a little bit, especially when you're just first starting out building an extension. You want to kind of throw everything in here because it's the main entry point for the extension to start when it activates. So if we go to line 26 here, this function activate is the thing that actually is what starts running it. So there's different ways you can activate a function. Just because you install it doesn't necessarily mean it will activate. If we actually go back to package.json, going back to this right here, line 15, activation events.
Oh.
Now, I don't recommend actually doing star because that means it will just automatically activate. In a lot of cases, we don't want to do that. And the reason I say that is because so I get a lot of questions around VS Code, being very in tune with what's going on with that tool. And a lot of people, when they ask me questions around performance, like 99% of the time, it has to do with the extensions that they have installed that will degrade the performance of like load up time or whatever it is that they're experiencing.
Yep.
And I think part of it is because extensions might be loading up when they don't actually need to be activating and loading up right away. So while I'm doing this right now, I don't recommend doing that. You can actually change this to be things like on certain commands that somebody might trigger through the command palette, like when you were bringing up the settings, and in various other ways you can trigger your extension to actually load up and start running and use resources.
Yeah.
So just a heads up on that. Again, I'm kind of sharing all this for people that might be interested in writing their own extension too, you know?
Yeah, sure. Like I think that a lot of people will like this is not particularly complicated things, but it's just hard to get started, and it's like hopefully we can give people an idea of how to write these extensions. One of the coolest thing about Visual Studio is that it's written in JavaScript, so it's very, very extendable, but it's hard to get started and hard to like get a sense of it. So it's really great to have a project like this, I think.
Cool. Yeah. So getting back to this activate function, everything that's in here within this scope is what's going to run when the extension gets activated to start running at first start. So in here, we're doing things like, again, this is getting a little really involved in like complex situation scenario. I'm using I basically created a language server. So generally what those are used for is, for instance, let's take Python as an example. Out of the box, if you install VS Code fresh, you can write Python code in it, right? You can run build your projects out within it. It's going to act as like just a plain old text editor. But if you want things like being able to debug Python, getting IntelliSense, the smart auto completion kind of options that come up, that kind of stuff, you need to install the Python extension that goes with it. And that acts as a language server that is running kind of as a separate process behind the scenes to enable those rich features that you get when writing and debugging Python code within VS Code. Okay. But the benefit of doing that for this case is I didn't want, when I'm parsing out the chat, we're doing a regular expression. I don't want that to be blocking and like degrading that performance. I'm trying to keep that in mind, right? When the end user is running this extension, I don't want it to be degrading their performance while they're doing their work. So I took this approach where I have a language server that's actually listening to the Twitch chat and parsing the messages to see if it's actually a command that is going to be used for this purpose. And so that's what's going on here. It's think of it as running as a separate node process behind the scenes that doesn't interfere with the main process that's running VS Code, or this other concept which is called an extension host, which is loading up all your extensions behind the scenes as well within VS Code. Does that make sense? Was that maybe a little too deep into the weeds, or what are your thoughts on that?
I'm slightly confused,
Okay.
but I think it's gonna be fine.
Sure.
That's the tricky part about pair programming. It's like you kind of like, okay, I think I'm gonna get this. Think I'm gonna get this. I'm not sure if I got it. But we'll just repeat it again if it turns out to be relevant.
Okay, gotcha. Sure. Yeah, so I mean, the main thing is just know that the way this extension is working is there's going to be there's a separate process that's running. That's the Twitch language server here, and that's kind of what we're starting up. We're having a language server, and then we have a client, so to speak, that's running within the extension here. That's going to be listening and handling events that get triggered between those two things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So by the way, like people are highlighting, like writing line 42, but it's not showing up.
I don't. Well, so I'm not sure why that might be.
Let's try to hang on.
Okay.
Let's.
You could say remove.
Yeah. Let's try to do this because maybe it was like the old session somehow.
Okay.
It's that's not a bug we're gonna fix today. All right. So we are now connected. Chat, try to highlight line 36 or 37 or something. All right, now it works. Awesome.
Interesting. Okay. Maybe, so this is the other thing that's been requested is to get the highlights to work over live share so that like if it highlights on your side, it highlights on my side.
Yeah.
And that I will be coming in the near future.
Oh, cool.
Working with the VS live share team.
Yeah, I think what happened here was that I opened another Visual Studio instance because I switched directories. And it stayed connected, but it was probably like perhaps pointing to the old project or something. I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay. So again at a high level, this main extension file is like think of it as like void main, kind of your startup for your whatever it is that you're writing, and the rest of the stuff outside of there, like the highlighter and Twitch chat client, is just stuff that's kind of abstracting responsibilities, so that's not all kind of in one file in this ginormous thing that I can't manage, right?
Yeah.
Which it's kind of getting there anyway, but that's another story. So in terms of what we want to do today, we're going to want to look at the Twitch language server, which is as I was mentioning before, the thing that's listening to the Twitch chat, and in particular things like on TTV chat message.
What does TTV stand for?
Twitch. It's shorthand for Twitch TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it would make more sense. Now you got me thinking. Like I'm analyzing my code here, like for more readability and for other people to be able to contribute to this project, writing things out a little bit better. But I'll mental note for that later. So this is checking to see who's sending the message, and then we're going to start parsing the message. So I'll control click into that, which is just this function right here. And here's where we're doing some fun regular expression stuff, which I'm not going to mess with because our buddy Parathon, as I mentioned, helped put this together, and I am terrible with regular expressions. So, but we're not going to need to mess with that anyway. But you get the idea that it's looking for a certain message that starts with an exclamation point saying what line, and then the number, and then we're planning to support where you could say, right now it's limited to whatever active file we have open at the moment. It will do the highlight in there and not in any other file. But there's cases where somebody might have spotted an issue in another file that's not currently visible to the host of the stream, and you might want to draw their attention there. We want to add that in as well. Again, it's very much early beta kind of status of this extension.
Yeah. I see here that there's a capability to write a text next to the highlight. So if you write line, number, and then you can write a comment as well.
Yeah, so if you hover over on 108 there, well, I don't know if somebody actually added a comment, but it'll
show
you like...
Yeah, added a comment here. Oh, that's cool. This is so bloody cool.
Right? So that way they can kind of say, hey, I think you're missing a semicolon here or something. Or, hey, knucklehead, you're a knucklehead. This is the problem. That kind of thing. It gets awesome. Fun. But we don't want people abusing that either, right? So we want to listen to things like when people get banned. And so that's where was it, the part where the events? Right here is where we're connecting. We're using the, it's actually Twitch.js, but you can see I've been switching back. As I mentioned before, I was switching back and forth between other libraries, and one of them is called TMI. So that's what that means. It's Twitch messaging interface. And I create a client of that that's going to listen to the Twitch chat. So it's a client listening to the Twitch chat, not to confuse any other client we might talk about moving forward. In there, I listen to events on when people might join. Actually, we probably can remove that. It's not needed. And when people send a chat message, that's what this is. But there's also an event that we can do. Well, this is where I think you're going to start taking over and driving, right? You want to code this and help and create a PR. So there's another event, and I'm just going to make a comment. Oh, I can't edit. That's right.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. You got me. There's another event that's called ban that we can listen to, or timeout, which timeout, just to get everybody acquainted with Twitch that might not be familiar there. Timeout is like maybe you don't want to ban somebody from being able to chat ever. Timeout will say, hey, we're going to put you in timeout, literally, and not allow you to send any message for X amount of time, which is a moderator capability or the broadcaster capability to do on somebody in chat. So we may need volunteers, by the way, to time out so we can test this out. Because the idea is if somebody gets banned or timed out, we want to remove their highlights that they have.
Yeah, that's actually good. Like I was about to say that I never time out people. If you're an asshole, you're banned. But I think that for the purposes of this thing, we should really use the timeout. Otherwise, I might forget to unban someone.
Right. So let me just double check on that with the Twitch.js library to make sure.
Bias Tobias goes there, please time me out.
Twitch.js. I'm just looking on NPM really quick, going to the library and making sure. Well, now they're GitHub repo. It aligns with the official Twitch IRC documentation. So that means, they'll be listening to bans and timeouts. So that should work as expected. So let's implement that function.
All right,
what that's going to do. So as I was mentioning earlier, this is the language server side of it, and then we have a client that's in the extension main thread that's going to be listening to events raised by the language server. So that's kind of how the communication goes between these two components. Nalaj says, Clark, I think there is also a delete event now. Okay, that's good. I was not aware of that. So if somebody's message gets deleted, we can listen to that if we wanted to.
Oh, that's cool.
Thank you, Nalaj, or Nalaj. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Now let's implement that function, the on TTV chat ban. Well, maybe we should rename that the timeout, right?
Exactly. Timeout. Already pair programming paying off. All right, so it seems like we are extracting here like the payload. Okay, so that's basically, is this the same signature every time?
Hold on. Is there a way I need to follow you now? Focus participant. Oh, no. I don't want people to focus on me. Click on your name. You currently edit. Okay, I'm with you now.
Yeah. So is it like channel, and that's a string, username, string, and
so this
no, the signature is different from event to event.
Yes, so I have it already set up so that we can avoid having to really go deep. So it's channel, username, and then reason is going to be the string. Reason, like I guess you could provide a reason why you time somebody out. But a lot of times you're just clicking a button.
Sure.
The duration, which is a number.
All right.
And then user state.
Yeah, I'm gonna
which ends up being a JSON object, so you can define that as any.
Right, so whoops. Did you say state or user state?
User state.
Any. So where did you find this out? Like, how did you know that this was the signature? Where's the docs? Just so that we get like a.
For a lot of it, I go based off of the Twitch IRC documentation, which I'll share. I'll share a link to that in the Twitch chat so that people can see that. So dev dev.twitch.tv is where they expose a lot of their documentation for their APIs.
Oh, okay.
And then the library, because the library, I'll share that one, I guess, as well. The one that I recommend, honestly, right now is the TMI.js, so I'll share that, link to that one in the chat as well. So that TMI.js is a great library that kind of, it's built for JavaScript and TypeScript that makes it a little bit easier when interacting with the Twitch IRC.
All right, so set. All right, cool.
And so in that one, if you click on the events for TMI.js, you can search for like timeout.
Oh, brilliant.
And you'll see it there.
Oh, that's so good.
Right?
All right, I get it.
Cool. All right, so here's the part where I gotta jog my memory because it's been a little while since I've worked on this extension. We need to essentially say, hey, we need to send an event to the extension itself, right? Remember, this is a language server that's running as a separate process to let it know, hey, we received this event, here's what happened. And then that'll allow the extension to make a decision upon that and listen for that type of event.
Yeah.
So if we take a look at, if you scroll down and look at parse message there,
Yep.
you'll see there's on line 144, there's a connection.send notification. So what you can do is you essentially send notification events back and forth between this language server and the extension as a client, again, right? Another client, but in that respect between this server and the extension itself. So we're going to want to do something like that, and then give it a signature for this type of event that we want to define. We're essentially defining our own events now between this language server and our extension.
Yeah.
So now bring that back up to the on TTV chat timeout function.
User state lowercase. Is this really 2 words? Is this 1 word? Bias to bias wants it to be like this, but I want it to be like this.
I don't think you can define it whatever you want. I think it's just how they kind of wrote it. So if you want it to be camel case, that's fine. You should be fine. The documentation shows it as lowercase, but it shouldn't matter what we use.
Yeah, but because it feels to me like in English, user state is 2 words.
Correct. That's how I would take it too.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
What are your thoughts on username then, since we're on the subject?
Username, oh god, yeah, username. That's tricky. Because in Swedes tends to make this mistake of making too many things into 1 word, because in Swedish you make everything into 1 word. It's a lot of combinations of for instance, cinnamon bun would be 2 words in English, because that's honestly sensible. But in Swedish it is kanelbulle as 1 word, like cinnamon bun.
Yeah.
Which is super annoying from a typing standpoint. It makes it really hard to develop machine learning algorithms for this shit. It's a crappy language.
Fair enough. All right, so we want to send a notification from this server to any client that's listening. So I think you have that ready to roll there, right?
Yeah. Send a message. Where should I be seeing something?
So there's a connection object that we can use. So if you start typing connection on line 91, and then .send notification.
Right, and this has a signature of notification type 1, and then some TypeScript garble.
Yes. So you don't worry too much about that.
Right.
What we can do, essentially what we've been doing is we have a constants file that defines all the different type of notifications that we want to send. So if you look at down on line 145.
Yeah. When you try selecting it on your side, does that mean that, yeah, all right, then this is a lot more visible for me and the audience.
Okay. All right, I'll do that moving forward. Thank you.
Yep.
You can I don't know what the keyboard shortcut might be for you, but if you control click on the highlight part right here,
all right,
it'll bring you to that file. And in here is where we'll want to define, so you can see the command type or the name of the command is there, and that it defines the event signature that we want to call it out as.
Okay.
And the command itself, right? So we'll want to add a new one towards the bottom down on line 30. We do a new line there.
Oh, sorry.
Excuse me.
Right. And what do we want to do? Like
Call it timeout.
Timeout.
And it equals, and then the convention. We've been using like a namespacing kind of thing. So yeah, Twitch highlighter dot timeout.
What? Timeout.
Cool. So now we can go back to the language server. Excellent.
And where were we? On the, can I go to definition in this? Oh, awesome.
Oops, I lost you. Where'd you go?
Where did I go? Oh, maybe when I'm jumping to definition, it doesn't follow me. I'm on line 91 in Twitch language server.
Okay, I'm with you. So here, the first parameter we can say the commands. We can pull in commands dot timeout. I think it might be capital C for that, by the way. For the commands part.
Oh.
It's weird that LiveShare is not showing me your suggestions that pop up when you do the dot, and then so I have to like look at the stream.
Maybe this has to do with like the fact that you're in read-only mode.
Might be, yeah. So now you'd want to use the timeout option that we just created.
Is it possible to do, like, if I want to do this in the future, to give high access to one person and read-only access to some people?
You know, I'm not sure. That's really a really great idea.
Yeah, let's see if that. I wonder if that will work.
I'm gonna write it down as a mental note to share as feedback and like to look up later.
Yeah, we should send this to the LiveShare team because it's like a great test. But it's working out like surprisingly fun. It's so much fun to do this. What is people commenting? Username is inconsistent. No, yeah, I fixed that. How do I do, like, can I remove the highlight now when it's fixed?
Yeah, so one way you could do that is you can open up the File Explorer, the first icon at the very top left.
This one?
Yep. And then there's a we don't have a right-click menu available yet for that.
All right. So
there's two ways you can do it actually. So what happens is in your File Explorer view, it'll have a panel at the bottom that's collapsible that says highlights, and it should show you all of them in there. Another way you can do it is you can bring up the command palette like you were doing before to bring up settings.
Okay, hang on.
Sure.
Like this?
Yes, and then if you type in Twitch and then unhighlight without the setting word, sorry.
Oh.
Yep.
Twitch and unhighlight.
There's an unhighlight all option you can do, or you can say unhighlight individual ones if you wanted.
Okay, so I can't unhighlight this line that I'm on?
You can, yeah. So if you do unhighlight by file and line, it's the second from the bottom.
Oh, I have to pick one. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's a little limited in that respect.
All right, cool. That's fine.
Good feedback, though.
All right. There we go, and then 86. All right, cool. This is another one from Mr. Destructoid. All right. I just didn't get that one.
So I guess to maybe show off another way to do that might be a little bit easier to do.
Yeah.
Instead of going through the command palette, the icon in the very top left corner, the little files under the search. If you click on that to bring up that's what I call the File Explorer.
Yeah, sure.
At the very bottom of that panel, you'll see a highlights.
Oh,
under LiveShare.
okay.
If you expand that, it should show all the highlights.
It says that there's no data provider register that can provide view data.
Okay, then we have a bug or something going on. Yeah.
Good testing.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, Parathon. I forgot Parathon. So again, as I mentioned, Parathon, who's been a huge contributor to this project, mentions in the chat, you can turn the Explorer window is hidden by default, but you can turn it on in the settings.
Oh, okay.
So let's double check on that. If you go to your preferences, open user settings again.
Twitch.
Search for Twitch.
Join message, leave message, nickname, show highlights in activity bar. There we go.
There you go. Check that box.
Oh, there we go. All right.
So it isn't a bug. It's working as expected.
Oh, brilliant. All right, so cool. Now we have like this backlog that users create for us almost here, actually. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you could right-click on individual ones, or if you right-click at the file level, then you can remove all those ones for that particular file.
All right.
Cool.
I'm gonna actually because I'm gonna declare like highlight bankruptcy now because there's so many. We haven't been keeping keeping on top of this, and also people have just been trying it out. So I'm gonna remove all, and then maybe try to keep attention to them.
Sounds good.
All right.
I like Klein's message in chat says, we should make it's broken as expected a thing. Yes.
That's so good. All right.
All right. So we're back on line 91 in Twitch language server.
Yep.
Right? Or 93 now. So the other parameter that you can pass into this function, send notification, is like a JSON object that can share data as part of the event. So really all we need here is to know who the user is that got timed out. So, and we have that. So we can just pass in a key username.
All right.
And the shorthand, yeah, that should be fine like that.
Oh, and it's username in this.
Yeah, so using it like that, it should automatically know that that's the key and to use the value that's part of the scope of this function.
Yeah, like I get that, but I was thinking like, is it the correct naming or is it?
It's whatever we want. As long as we know what it is here, then on the client side that's listening for that event, we just need to match that. So.
Oh, okay. So we this is not the API. We are in control of the receiver as well.
Correct. This is totally us now. We have full control. All right, so now comes the point where we need to listen to this notification on the client side. So in that case, what we want to do is we can actually, if you open up Twitch chat client file.
All right, Twitch chat client.
Let me double check that there.
So what is it we're looking for? On TTV. Chat client timeout.
All right, I'm still refreshing my memory on this project. And if Parathon's in chat, if you want to catch me up just to be safe, that'd be helpful too. All right, where were we here? We're not sending requests, we're just listening.
It's this project, Nalaj, it's this project linked to the format that this line is starting to upset me. Why is this wrong?
The linter's complaining to you? Is that what's going on?
No, he thinks it should be, like the linter should have complained on line 90 in Twitch chat client. Well,
sure.
I don't see the problem with this though.
Let me see what that's about. The catch error there?
Yeah. What's wrong? What would be wrong with this? Am I just silly?
I don't know.
Yeah, ClientFront says like this line is fine. I think he highlighted the wrong line. All right, I'm gonna remove that highlight. Sorry for distracting you there.
No, it's fine. Where is this client working again? Sorry, bear with me just a moment here.
No problem. Like this is there's a nature of programming, like figuring out docs. Like one of the things with that I really would like is a way to have like this co-browsing, so that we could like check, like follow you around while you're doing like doc searching and stuff. But there's currently like no tool that is good at that I've found.
Yeah.
Like if you have that, chat, I would accept recommendations on that with open arms.
Right. Okay, so I think I've gotten my bearings again with this. It's one of those things where I'm sure this happens to everybody, right? But let me know if it doesn't. Where you might work on a project. This usually happens like over the weekend. You leave off in a current state on a Friday, and then on Monday you come back and you're like, where the heck?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Like I have a very small working memory I've found. So I actually do these little narratives when I'm working where I like type out my thoughts. Just so like it's partially to keep myself focused because I'm very easily distracted, but it's also to allow me to jump back in after like having a cup of coffee and talking with a colleague or coming back like after the weekend.
For sure. So I see Parathon helped, and I was just getting to this point with it. If we go down to line 196 of Twitch chat client, so here's where we're defining listening to these notifications on the client side. And so you could see one, like we have the main ones, right? On I keep forgetting that I can highlight and you'll see it. On line 202, we have one for the highlight command and one for the unhighlight command that comes through from listening to the Twitch chat.
Yeah.
So we want to create another one probably on line, after line 214, saying this _language client dot on notification, and then tie it to that command that we created and the parameters that we have.
All right, cool. So, whoa,
what happened?
I'm following you, just so you know.
Oh, sorry. While you were doing that, I was gonna go. All right, I'll stay down.
Okay.
My bad.
This is hilarious. But it's kind of like it's enormously fun.
It is. It definitely
I think
is.
that people are really afraid to highlight now that we said that we would be looking at it. So, but feel free. It's kind of fun when you do like weird comments. Comments, and we had like timeout.
Yep. And then we could just say any params again because it's a JSON object. This is our callback function essentially.
Yeah. Not to stress you out or anything, but technically we have 2 minutes left.
Oh boy. I don't think we're gonna get this done in time.
No, but that's cool. Like it's called failing together for a reason.
Yes.
So it was params any.
So we're doing the arrow function shorthand there is what we want for the callback. So yeah. The params any will go inside of that, and that's how we'll use it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's like this.
So the first parameter is basically defining saying, hey, we want to listen to that type of notification, and then what we do when we get that notification is the params any part, right?
All right, hang on. I think I'm something like this. I think there.
Okay. Then I guess we should probably check. So in the same fashion that we have this dot on highlight and like if this dot on highlight, we want to have some guard logic there to make sure that that's available. But in this case, we're going to create one that's going to say like on timeout instead of highlight.
Oh,
And
we want to create this.
Yeah, well, so what's happening if you look at like line 211 here, on this client, it looks to see if that's been defined. And so the way we define that is actually from the extension. Again, I'm sorry that this extension itself is quite involved in the way it works and could potentially be re-architected the way we do it, right? That said.
Maybe or maybe not. Like its architecture does happen for a reason. Sometimes it becomes unnecessarily convoluted, and sometimes it does. Like whenever somebody asks me to write a short text, write a short explanation of this, a paragraph is okay, and I'm like, wait a minute, like don't you understand that writing a full page explanation of something takes a shorter time than writing a paragraph? Like it takes a long time to drill down an architecture to simplicity. So like when you see something that is small and very elegantly constructed, that is because people have spent like a lot of time on it. So like first the project swells and then you like figure out like the essentials of it. So it's like, don't apologize for that. This is a new code base, and that means that it tends to be like involved.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's kind of like writing an abstract, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So what's happening is we're defining basically the actual signature and implementation of this function. We write, because it's something that's going to be happening within the extension. We have that written in extension.ts, and it's what extension.ts gets to define it for us, right? We're basically opening up the API of how the extension wants to behave and handle this. We're just giving it a name on this client that's listening to the language server. Hopefully I explained that well enough. So we want to double check the same way that we're double checking that on highlight function was defined by the extension. We want to double check that here as well. Right?
So,
which we haven't done yet. So if we were to like run this and try to see if there was an on timeout, actually execute and call that function, it wouldn't work because we haven't implemented it yet, right? So now we could say we need to define a this dot on timeout, right? So if we go, I'm going to scroll if you're ready. I don't want to.
Yeah. Do that. Scroll.
Scrolling. So here's what I was talking about. We have a signature for what it would look like, but the actual implementation of it is happening in extension.ts. So let me switch over to that really quick. I think you should follow with me.
Yeah.
And you'll see right here, like here's our chat client that's listening to the server, which is listening to the actual Twitch API and the chat messages. And it's saying, hey, on highlight should be defined as the highlight function in this file.
Yeah.
So I can control click there. So we want to do something very similar to that, but let's first define what that, the on timeout function in Twitch chat client. Whoops, not there, but back here. So we could just add another one here that is probably right after this one.
Yeah.
Line 60.
All right, let's try to do that. So public dot on timeout. Yeah, and then this is also void, I guess.
Correct. And I think the one thing that we'll pass in terms of parameters here will be the username as a string again.
Yeah. All right, I have to say, like these comments, man, I think that these are necessary.
Oh, well, props to Parathon for that.
Yeah.
Shout out to him.
Like it's...
All
right.
So now if we go back, I'm going to scroll again. Don't get startled on me. We're going to go down 196, I think it was, right?
Yep.
Right here. So now we can say this dot on timeout and pass in the username from the params, which the params are right here. So we would say params dot username. I think we're almost there. We might actually get this done fairly soon.
All right, cool.
I think
we can just find a good place to leave it off and then like say what we would do if we were to actually wrap it up.
Sure. Yeah, we could do that.
I guess we can do like 2 more minutes.
Sure, that's fine. So I think one thing we want to look out for is I'm pretty sure you had it as username with a capital N, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's pretty cool that it picks that up even though it's an any. Hang on. No, I expected 0 arguments but got 1. We don't have any arguments on the on timeout yet.
Can you? Well, I guess I'll go. Where did it go? You had username in here, didn't you? I thought you wrote that.
No, I never had.
Oh, sorry.
I never wrote it.
So we want to define it there.
Okay, so username string, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right.
Going back. So that should be sufficient there, and then go ahead.
Oh no, where am I? Shit. On timeout. There we go. I'm back.
Okay. So that should be it for between the language server and the client. So we are listening to it, and the next step we would do, but we probably won't. We don't have time to do.
Yeah.
Would be to go into extension TS, and essentially you can write this part at least. You can add a new line on line after line 37.
On extension TS 47.
37. Sorry.
37. Sorry. Yeah, I see you.
So Twitch chat client dot on timeout and then you could say equals timeout, and then it should show you squigglies like, hey, that function hasn't been defined. And then within there, we would go and listen. We would look at the collection of highlights that we have.
Yeah.
Highlight is a class object, which is over here. And in there, every highlight that gets created, we capture the user name from chat that created it. And what we would do is just kind of filter on that and remove their highlight as part of that timeout, right? For whatever the time period might be or something. Or, well, more so when they get banned, right? You would want to remove them completely. On timeout, maybe we want to have it behave a little bit differently and maybe remove them, maybe not remove them. But now we have the option to do that.
All right. Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. We'll see if I will do this or if somebody else in chat will do something, or like there's tons of issues on this on this Twitch extension that can be fixed and improved, and I really see myself using this on the channel, and like there's so much more fun things you can do. And this is so great for interaction with people, especially since the Visual Studio live share extension is limited to only 30 people. It's really cool to have something. Also, it'd be cool to, like, as more people get into the stream, it would be cool to integrate it with subscriptions and bits and stuff to limit the line things. So and especially it could use bits to give highlighting access to other users.
For sure, yeah.
Oh, and remove highlighting access from other users. That would be evil.
Correct. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, it's very exciting. It's been a fun project to work on, and it's actually for me the first one where I've ever had. Again, I can't say it enough because Parathon has been really helpful with this.
Thank you, Parathon.
Where I've ever had an open source project that had a lot of contributions from outside. Like a lot of it is just they're little pet projects for me, and it's mostly me working on them, and I barely get people kind of contributing to them.
Yeah.
Or collaborating with people, right? And so it's been an awesome experience in that sense too.
Yeah, it's I think that this is a marvelous little invention, and I'm so happy you brought it to life. And thank you so much for Parathon as well for helping out. I really hope to contribute as well, because I need this, and it's so great that it exists.
Awesome.
And that's where we wrap up today. We failed together, success, but we learned how to work with the VS Code Twitch highlighter plugin, and we had a lot of fun. And honestly, that's the actual objective of the stream. Thank you so much, Brian. Make sure to follow Brian on Twitter and Twitch. On the Twitter, you can find him on Clark.io. But let me actually switch to this. See, follow him on _Clark.io on Twitter, and follow him on Twitch on just Clark.io. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.